Howdy folks, Nathan here with a very special car, one that is not only electric, but it's a BMW. This is a BMW i5 eDrive40. Now, why does that matter? Well, because it's all electric, but it's also rear wheel drive. It's a very different type of BMW than the one we've had before, because we had one that had all-wheel drive. It's a very different beast. So in this video, not only are we going to be driving this vehicle, we're going to have a wonderful discussion with what I consider one of the most interesting guest speakers that we have at TFL, who comes in quite often, who knows a lot more about BMWs than I do. So stay tuned for that. This isn't just your average BMW 5 Series, even though I believe this is built on the same production line.
Exactly the same production line. I'd like to point out, this is built on the production line that started 50 years ago. BMW was having a birthday party of sorts for Dingelfing, which is where they manufacture the 5 Series, the 7 Series, as well as it is the center of excellence for their EVs, that's what they call it.
And they call it Dingelfing.
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 Dingelfing. Okay.
Dingelfing.
Entschuldigung, ein Moment bitte. Okay, so here's the thing. All right, now I wanted to blow out with this vehicle, is that despite the fact that it is built on the same production line, it's a completely different vehicle, but it does share a lot of components with the 5 Series. So it's not completely just an all-electric, like, skateboard, you know what I mean?
This is one of the very few instances where a car manufacturer from the outset said, you know what, we don't 100% believe the timelines of the EV mandates the governments around the world are setting for us. So BMW said, you know what, we're going to make a whole platform that can support internal combustion as well as fully electric. So this is the same platform that underpins, say, the 530 all the way up to the 540 currently, probably the upcoming M5, as well as this new i5.
Okay. Now an important distinction is that they're not the only ones who have done this. Our friends at Genesis did exactly the same thing with the GV70 EV, which I recently did.
That's a different scenario, though. That's a case where they took the parts from the eGMP platform, the battery, the motors, and put them into a gasoline platform in the GV70. And as you found out, the execution's great.
Yeah.
One of the better ones out there.
I would agree. So you're saying this is different because
totally
this from
different.
the offset was like, okay, we're going to slap in several different powertrains.
Literally from the drop, BMW Board of Management that sat there and whatever conference room they had in their 4-cylinder tower in Munich across from Olympiazentrum and said, you know what, we don't so much believe the EU, we don't believe the US government, they're going to have to put the mandates off because the realities are the realities. And so let's make a platform that can accept it all. We can build an internal combustion engine, we can build a fully electric, we can do a plug-in hybrid. Now, from the drop, it started with a 530, which is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo, rear drive, 530iX, all-wheel drive, same engine.
Right.
This i5 eDrive40, which is rear drive, about 250 to 300 horsepower.
How big is the battery in this?
The battery in this is 81.2 kilowatt hours. And it's the same whether it's the i5 eDrive40 or the M60, which is the all-wheel drive model, which is almost 600 pounds of torque. Crazy quick.
Yeah.
And then there's a 540, which is that, the B58 inline 6. That's currently what's on offer. Yes, they are going to do you said something wrong?
Yeah, we're in a school zone.
Okay. Look at this. You're actually going slow in a school zone.
You've got to give me the credit.
I'm
a good old man.
The point is, they're probably going to have an M5 as well. They already announced, get this, they're going to make the i5 as a wagon. i5 Touring.
Yeah, but it's not coming here.
But how cool.
It's really cool, but I mean, yeah, thanks for candy we can't have.
We kind of need that. That's the gesture control.
Oh.
So
did I do that?
So if I want to put the volume up, do this.
So
volume
just
down.
Come on.
I know it's
That's
gimmicky, especially
a
with
gimmick.
this. But I'm probably going off on a tangent.
All right, here.
The UX in BMWs with the unified controller, not the X1 currently. The unified controller, probably the reference standard today. I know that's a disagreement with Tommy because Tommy, he loved that X1 with using your fingers. But what we've learned from our friend Dave Coleman Where your finger goes, your eyes go.
So let's talk about where BMW is going in the future with their EVs.
So this is a fascinating discussion because the way I look at it, any business, I don't care if you're in the car business, you're in the aviation business, financial instruments, whatever, you have a choice. You can be first mover advantage, get to the market as fast as possible and be the first one to market, or you can be number 2 or 3 to the market with the hope that you assess the market and hopefully you get it right and you bring a product to market that's a bit more sorted. I would argue in financial instruments, you probably want to be first mover advantage. Probably in high tech, computers, phones, you probably want to be first mover advantage. But when it comes to vehicles where you're trying to force the tech world into the automotive world, which is by design middle technology at best, it's better to be the second to market. And BMW is the best example of that, and I'll tell you why. Like, you look at all the early efforts from General Motors, from Nissan. You owned a Nissan Leaf. You know, lovely car, but a piece of garbage after a couple of years.
Without a doubt.
And the Volt, great car, but it had its issues.
Yep.
And then you get into some of the electric cars that came from, say, 2015 to 2020, also had their challenges. It's only now we're getting into stuff that, frankly, you and I would consider spending money on, like this car, or the GV70 that you love so much. BMW, I think, very smartly shelved their electric stuff into that I brand, and notice it was all super high tech. It was carbon fiber reinforced polymer construction, meaning very strong, very lightweight construction. They built a factory in eastern Washington to build the stuff.
Yeah, and then they had to ship everything back overseas.
It was crazy. And that's why they got rid of that business. But the idea was to take learning from that and then come to market with more mature vehicles that people want. And the reality is, if you look at every one of their efforts, I don't care what brand, BMW with the i4, the Rolls-Royce with the Spectre, and the Mini. I know this is not the popular choice. The Mini, that car, the Mini SE, of those 3 examples in their market, in their competitive set, they are the best ones to drive. And I'll tell you why. The BMW i4 is a great example. And it's the cheap one like this, the eDrive40, the rear drive. Mm-hmm. It's the best driving EV car out there, full stop, because why? You can steer it with your right foot.
I will agree. This car, first of all, handles beautifully. And so did its big brother, the one that we tested in Colorado with the all-wheel drive and just the stupid amount of torque and everything else. It was absolutely insane. But one of the things that I will say about this vehicle is that it still drives like a BMW. I know that's a bit of a cop-out because some people are like, okay, well, how does a BMW
okay, hold
drive?
On there, Tex. Hold on.
What
do you think about the steering? Is that really BMW, the steering?
The steering's super light.
It's okay. The steering is Honda Civic bordering on Buick.
This is not the part that I feel like a BMW.
Yeah.
When
Everything else.
When I put this thing into a corner, I'm feeling the car is stabilizing on its own. Now, this has that trick suspension, am I correct?
So in the eDrive40, in the electric only, it's got a self-leveling suspension in the rear as standard. That's optional in other like gasoline cars. In the M60, which you guys drove, the M60 has the uprated suspension as standard. But that car's also a lot more power and all-wheel drive.
Yeah, okay. So this one, let's go into that suspension. Is that actual like airbags that are moving up and down to solidify?
It's adjustable dampers.
Adjustable dampers.
So you got self-leveling in an M60, but unlike this car, that car has adjustable dampers. So this corner you're coming around here, you can do it much faster in the M60, even though the M60 is an additional 350 pounds.
A special thank you to our buddy Moto Man, who is not only behind the camera, but provided all that expertise inside the vehicle and helped us out with this hangar, which has some amazing aircraft in it. Now, speaking of aircraft, the emblem, BMW, yeah, that's right from the aircraft industry as well. And speaking of BMWs, this one, yes, it drives like a BMW. It's fantastic. One of the best trade-offs between performance, handling, and ride that I've had with a vehicle from this automaker. Normally it's a little too choppy for me or a little too harsh. This one has a much smoother ride. Very well done. And without a trick suspension. It's a good suspension. The steering is way too light. It's like a video game. That's probably my biggest complaint with this vehicle. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the discussion that we had about the future of BMW and EVs. Stay tuned for more.